Welcome to Cracked Open, a podcast about life, love, loss, and the truths we discover along the way. Together, we'll explore the struggles that shape us, the lessons we carry, and the hope that keeps us moving forward. This is more than stories. It's honesty. It's healing. It's real. Let's get started. And now your host, Glen Nunes.
This is Cracked Open with Glen Nunes. We're here to talk about real life, real heartbreak, real healing, real hope. So welcome, I'm your host. We're going to dive into some emotions and stuff that most people are afraid to talk about, and as we discover the beauty that can come from being broken open. So today's episode is on hope, and I'm sitting here with my notes cracked open and trying to make sense of hope, even when right now it may not seem that way, but then it does. But always move forward. That's my theory, no matter what. So if you're listening right now, I want you to know, something right from the start, that you're not alone. And whatever you're walking through, maybe it's heartbreak, confusion, loss, fear, grief, you don't have to pretend that you're strong to be here, and you don't have to have it all together. This is a place for cracked open people, and I'm one of them. So let me tell you something right from the start. You're not alone, and not for 1 second. And if you feel like the ground is falling out from under you, that's good, because that means you're in the right place. Because this podcast, this isn't for people who have it all together. This is for the ones fighting to get through the day, the ones whose hearts have been cracked open, and the ones who've been knocked down, disappointed, betrayed, blindsided by life. And if that's you, welcome. We're gonna get into this, and I hope you enjoy it. You don't need to hide the pain here. You don't need to pretend you're okay. You don't need to act stronger than you feel. Hope isn't built on pretending. It's built on truth. And truth is this. Even right now, even in the middle of the mess, you're not done and you're not alone. And you and I, we're going to walk through this one together. So let's go. Okay. So even as I record this episode, I'm grieving the loss of my Aunt Betty. I just keep having a year with many losses, and just got a call a couple of days ago when I was ready to record this or taking my notes, and my sister called me and gave me the news. So, pain keeps just piling up in my life, and I know some of you probably feel the same way. So that's why this episode matters so much, because hope isn't something we talk about after life gets easier. Hope is what we cling to in sessions where it feels like everything is just slipping away. And before we even begin, I want to say this. When I got back from Florida, I had a medical scare, and I don't want to go into the details, but it shook me. It reminded me how fragile life is and how fast everything can feel like it's slipping. And hope is often something that we have to cling to long before we feel ready for it. So honestly, I wasn't sure I would even record this episode. My mind was stretched, my nerves were shot, and my heart was heavy. But sometimes those are the exact moments that when you need to just sit down and hit record and speak the truth into the darkness. So today, of all days, I'm going to record this podcast. I did have that medical scare, and nothing I need to unpack here, but it was one of those moments that just stops you in your tracks. It makes you realize how much stress that you've been carrying, and it showed me how quickly fear tries to step in, and how necessary hope becomes when life just shakes you awake. So before we dive into this episode, I want to be honest. Over the last few weeks, I made a decision real when I told myself I'm done being the guy who only talks about pain. I'm done being the Debbie Downer. I'm done letting heartbreak and loss and all this other stuff be the only things that come out of my mouth. So I wanted to shift. I wanted to turn this podcast into something positive, something encouraging, uplifting, thankful, appreciative, something rooted in hope instead of hurt. So I wanted to bring some light. I wanted to speak life. I want to be a man who doesn't just survive the storm, but grows through it. And right now, when I made that shift, life hit me again. I woke up to that news that my Aunt Betty passed away. One of the last of the two aunts that I have left. The other one is in a nursing home. My Aunt Margaret, she's suffering from dementia really bad, slowly fading, and it just feels like another piece of my life slipping through my fingers. And at the top of that, I've been walking through all these terrible losses alone, no one by my side. It's just been rough, but hoping there's a bigger plan. So I've lost my peace, I lost my confidence, I lost my myself a little bit, but I'm fighting every single day to get it all back. I lost my granddaughter, Brielle. I lost life I pictured. I lost parts of my identity. I lost people who mattered to me. Just when I try to rebuild, another blow, boom, hits me. So if you're listening to this thinking, man, I'm going through hell, I want you to know that you're not alone. And I'm not recording this from the perfect spiritual mountaintop. I'm recording this from the middle of real life, real grief, real heartbreak, real loss, real cracks in the foundation. So, but here's why this episode matters so much, because hope is not something that you talk about when life gets easier. Hope is something you cling to when life keeps swinging, and hope is not the reward. Hope is a lifeline. And today, even in the middle of everything I've lost, I'm choosing to speak about hope, not because everything is good, but because everything hurts, and hope is the only thing that keeps me standing. So if you're cracked open, if you feel like you're losing much, if life keeps hitting you and giving you the blows, if you're grieving someone you love or lost, this episode's for you, for us, for anyone who's still trying to believe in something bigger than the pain. So let's begin here. You're not alone, not tonight, not this morning, not in the season, not for 1 second. And if you're listening to this right now because you've been knocked flat, if you're tired, if your heart's cracked open, if you've been crying, if you feel like the ground fell out from under you, you're in the right place. The podcast isn't for people who have it all together. Like I said, it's not for the perfect. It's not for the polished. This is for people who are fighting just to make it through the day. It's for the ones, who wake up with a heavy chest. It's for the ones who feel abandoned, disappointed, forgotten, or heartbroken, or you're feeling worthless, whatever the reason. This right here is where hope begins. Not at the finish line, not at the victory, not after the healing. Hope begins in the middle of the mess. Hope begins when you're cracked open, and hope begins when you're hurting and still searching for something to hold on to. And you and I, we're going to walk through this one together. So I'm not talking to you today from the mountaintop, like I said. I'm talking to you from the real life, from the pain, the confusion, from the kind of days that shake you right to your core, from the nights when sleep won't come, and from the moments when you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize yourself. But even here, even in this place, hope still has a voice, and today we're going to uncover it. We're going to breathe again. We're going to stop. We're going to stand again. We're going to find a reason, even a small one, just to keep moving. So hope didn't leave you. It's just buried under the weight of what you've been carrying. You're not carrying it alone anymore. So this episode is for the broken, the tired, the disappointed, the ones hanging on by a thread. But you showed up. You pressed play. That's courage. That's hope already stirring, even if it's faint. So let's talk about what hope really is and what it's not. So sometimes it feels unfair. You had dreams that once felt sturdy and beautiful, but after enough disappointments, they start to slip away through your hands like a handful of sand. You stand watching so many other dysfunctional relationships just continue, and you wonder why yours wasn't strong enough to fight if you're going through a breakup or lost somebody that you really loved. You applied, you tried, but it just feels like another closed door after another, and it can weigh you down, can weigh down the strongest person. It can make you feel like your expectations were foolish for being that high in the first place. But the human heart was never designed to live only off the big moments. We are wired to grow in the ordinary, and God often hides comfort in the pieces of life that we almost walk past. So the small good things it's not a consolation prize. They're like little flashes of mercy meant to keep your soul breathing while the bigger ones take time to grow. So it feels almost pathetic when something tiny starts carrying you. Maybe it's just like a drink you like, or maybe it's like laughing at yourself, or because at this point, what can you do? But reality is in the small joys in your life. And in the small joys in your life, they're not the signs of lowering your expectations. They're the signs that your spirit is still alive, even noticing the little beauty you can find, though. They're victories in seasons where nothing went your way or the way you thought it would. So just embrace it, I guess. So in expectations, they don't have to disappear. They simply need to be surrendered. What people call lowering expectations is sometimes just learning to stop punishing yourself for wanting more than you currently have. It's learning to let, God hold the timeline while you just learn to breathe again. It's giving yourself permission to enjoy tiny bits of joy and without waiting for the whole sky just to brighten first, like baby steps. I always say small steps going forward. These waiting seasons, they feel cruel. You wonder why nothing seems to work. You wonder why you can't just have a relationship that lasts, or the opportunity that finally sticks, or the dream that doesn't crumble when you start to believe it. But God often builds strength in the small spaces, and he trusts us with the large ones. So he trains the heart to look for him not only on the mountaintops, but in the valleys and the lighter situations. He teaches you that joy is not something that you have after a breakthrough. It's something that you learn to find in the cracks while the breakthrough is still forming and it's out of sight. So maybe your life right now feels like scraps rather than masterpieces. But scraps, they're never meaningless. Jesus fed thousands with crumbs and pieces. He filled that net with abundant fish. So God has a history of taking small things and turning them into more than enough. The little joys reminds us that something in you is still reaching for life even when everything feels delayed. So don't shame yourself for finding comfort in something tiny. The tiny things might be what keeps your heart so soft to receive the big things when they finally arrive. So these small joys are like stepping stones. They keep you moving when you could only consider not believing altogether. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So you're not lowering your expectations. You're learning how to live gently while God is still arranging the next chapter. You're letting the small things anchor you so the disappointments do not pull you under. And that's not pathetic. That's wisdom. It's resilience. And that's the quiet strength of someone who refuses just to stay numb or go numb. So take the small things, accept the peace it brings. Remember this. If the small things satisfy, imagine what God's preparing for you when the bigger things finally unfold. And bigger things are right ahead. They're right around the corner. There's a book out there called 2 Feet from Gold. It's about somebody who owned all this land. There was presumably a lot of gold on it, and he was digging for forever, and he ended up just selling the property because he's like, there's no gold here. And the person that bought it from him, literally 2 feet over the line, 2 feet from when he stopped digging, struck all the gold. So it's called 2 Feet from Gold. I would recommend reading that book. If I find it, I'll put it in the description. But hope is, it's not a mood, it's a discipline. It's the decision to stand firm even when your emotions are all over the place. It's a daily choice to lift your eyes when everything in you wants to just shut down. Most people think hope is supposed to feel warm and cozy, but real hope is often born in dark places. It grows in the nights when you can't sleep, the mornings when your heart feels heavy, when your chest is tight, when the knot in your stomach is your only food. It takes root in the season when nothing seems to be happening and God just feels quiet, like he's not listening to you. But this is where hope becomes something else. Hope is choosing to believe that God is moving even when you cannot track a single thing that he is doing. Hope is telling your mind to align what God has spoken instead of what fear keeps repeating. Hope is returning to the truth again and again, even when your emotions argue with you. It's not pretending, it's not forcing positivity, it's discipline. It shapes, it molds you. Hope teaches you to breathe through all the disappointments without giving into it. It teaches you to wait patiently without collapsing. It teaches you to trust God in the middle of the unknown instead of only after the breakthrough arrives. So because hope is the anchor that keeps your soul steady while God works behind the scenes. Hope is the voice inside you that says this chapter is not an end. And hope is the quiet courage to keep showing up when everything feels tiring. So when you don't feel hopeful, you practice hope. You speak it, you choose it, you walk in it. There are chapters when hope feels dangerous. When every time you start to believe things might turn, the rug's pulled right from under you, and you're left wondering why you ever opened your heart in the first place. You start feeling like if you don't fix everything, it will collapse. And deep down, you're tired. You're tired of trying, of hoping, of being disappointed, being thrown away, let down. It's tiring, and this stuff's relentless. So in moments like this, you begin to ask questions like, what is faith? Like, you even start to question your faith. Is it believing Jesus died, or believing he's going to fix your life? Or if he's good, why does life feel so hard and so unfair? You start questioning these things. Faith was never meant to be a guarantee that your life will be easy. Jesus never promised a pain-free path. He never said you'd avoid difficulty. In fact, he says the opposite. He told us that there would be troubles, storms, battles, sleepless nights, but he also said that he would be with us through all of it. So faith is not believing that Jesus will carry every circumstance comfortable. Faith is believing that he will carry you through it. Faith is not without struggling. It's the strength to step forward while you're still shaking and you're fighting. It's the decision to trust God, that God is working even when nothing around you looks like it's happening. It's believing that the story isn't over. You don't have to pretend you're strong. You don't have to pretend you're hopeful. God is not intimidated by your disappointment, by the way. He doesn't step back when you say you're scared to hope again. He draws closer. He sits with you and the uncertainty, and he understands what it feels like to be overwhelmed by the weight of this sick world. He carried the weight on his own shoulders. Okay? So faith is you refusing to let go completely. It's when you keep going when nothing makes sense. It's trusting that God's goodness is beyond our understanding and that he's with us. Okay? So that's what you got to stick to. So how do you maintain hope when you feel everything's gone? Hope is a reality. It keeps us going. And I'm going to tell you a couple of stories I wanted to talk about. Those of you who've been listening to me, it's my 14th episode. I do research on the internet. I go to the Bible. I go to church. I listen to sermons. I'm inspired by those. I listen to people. I listen to music, and I take my everyday journeys and I intertwine them all. So I found a couple of stories that I want to talk about. This first one it's a story about this elephant on a rope. The other one's about this wrestler, and he has one arm. It's a young kid. The first one is this guy saw this elephant. He was tied by this little rope to a fence. It was a huge, like mammoth elephant. I could have just snapped the rope or just ripped the fence right out of the ground. So the guy approached the trainer and said, how come that elephant just stays there with that rope tied to them? He said it's because when he was a baby, we used to use those same ropes to detain him, and like all the other elephants, we train this way, and they think that they can't get away because the rope is strong. So they think they're stuck right there, and they won't even try to break it. They're stuck right there where they are because they believe that they're incapable of breaking something that they can't control. And it's just like us. We hold on to a belief that we cannot do something simply because we have failed at it once before. You know? So, like, failure is a part of learning. We should never give up trying because we might be just that one attempt away from breaking free. So, it's a great analogy. So, the other story is about a one-armed champion. He was trained by a judo master, and the trainer trained him and taught him only one technique. Only one. But after months of training, this kid with the one arm, he started watching all the other guys that the master was training and showing them all different things, and they were learning many other moves. This guy, he was wondering, why did the judo master only teach me this one move? So he questioned him. He said, and the judo master said, just focus on that one particular move. It's the only one you'll need to know. So months later, he entered a tournament, his first tournament. He was scared because he had only one arm, and the master only taught him this one move. But he won his first 4 rounds, and then in the next round, was round 5, he was way overmatched by this huge opponent, and the ref stepped in, and he stopped the match because the kid was getting beat pretty badly. So the sensei jumped up and insisted that the match continued. The opponent let his guard down, and then the boy pinned him and won the match. And then he ended up winning the whole tournament. And on the ride home, he asked him about all the other matches and the moves, and asked why he had won and counted every other move by all his opponents. And the sensei said, 2 ways, son. One was hard work, and the other one was the only way he could have pinned you. You needed your left arm. So that guy's move only worked with a left arm pin, the opponent. So the bottom line is we only focus on our weaknesses. At the same time, we can make them our strength. So never give up. And it's a pretty interesting story. So think and look into your heart. Believe everything will be fine. Your inner strength is your rock that you can hold on to when you can't hold on to anything else. Express your feelings when life feels like an uneven fight. No matter how hard you try, and when you feel every door is closed, you just keep fighting. Don't run away from your emotions. Face your feelings. And when you're overwhelmed, speak it out to yourself, or journal about them, or whatever's easier. Or tell someone your story. You'll discover a hope in doing this. Find a community. There are many people who have seen or been exactly where you are. So maybe you've been here before, and this time it's just different. Maybe it's because the level of love that you had for someone. I've been there. I know the feeling, but maybe this is you. I don't know. So evaluate your situation. Everybody's is unique and different. Community empowers you. We're born to cooperate and support one another. Uniting hearts can overcome any hardship, and never through isolation. But carefully choose your community, though. Not barroom flies, not the gossip, all that nonsense, or people who don't even really care about you. People that just act like they do care about you, but they don't, because many people seem concerned about you. But misery loves company, that old saying. Every challenge holds a great meaning waiting to be discovered. Maybe connect to a bigger picture, maybe a larger purpose of yours. I don't know. Because hopelessness can destroy your joy, and your inner peace. And even if you don't see a solution, it doesn't mean no solution exists. No one can take away your power to decide your attitude towards circumstances except for yourself. Even when it looks bad or grim, choose hope. No challenge lasts forever, okay? You always have and had that inner strength to overcome yourself. It's a battle, but you can do it. There are moments when pain feels so sharp that you think the only thing that might quiet it is to give a little of it back. You convince yourself that they deserve it. They hurt you. They acted like a monster. They were cruel and careless and maybe even evil. And this might be true. In many cases, I'm sure it is. So you let yourself release a small dose of anger towards them, just a little, just enough to feel something other than hope. But anger never stays little. So you got to be careful, because hate never stays contained. It rolls. It gathers weight. It grows. And suddenly, what felt like a tiny outlet becomes a craving. And you want to match what they did. Maybe outdo it or whatever. Maybe finally feel like you're in control. But hatred does not heal your heart. It simply drags you down to the place where their actions try to take you. When you interact with darkness, you're tempted to mirror it. So you start to become what broke you. But God invites you into something different, something braver, something harder. Choosing not to pass the pain forward is holy work. It's strength. It's refusal to let someone else's evil shape you into a version of yourself that you were never created to be. So forgiveness does not excuse what happened. It simply stops the snowball from rolling through our soul. It says, you hurt me, but you do not get to recreate me. It lets God carry what your heart was never meant to hold. Hope is not a mood, it's a discipline. So it's a decision to stand firm even when your emotions are all over the place. It's a daily choice to lift your eyes when everything in you wants to shut down or give up or disappear into the noise. Most people think that hope is supposed to feel warm, comforting, soft, something that just wraps around you when life gets tough. But that kind of hope, that's the movie version. Real hope is the kind that actually keeps you alive, and it's often born in dark places. So it grows in the nights when you can't sleep. Like I said, the mornings when your chest is heavy, and the moments that nothing makes sense and God seems so distant and every part of you just fighting not to fall apart. That's when hope becomes that discipline choice. Hope is choosing to believe that God's moving even when you can't track a single thing he's doing. He said, where are you, God? Hope is reminding yourself of what God has spoken instead of listening to what fear keeps repeating. Hope is coming back, rebuilding again and again to truth that your feelings don't always agree with. Hope is not lying to yourself. It's, like I said, it's discipline. Hope teaches you to fight disappointment without letting disappointment define you. To move forward, not in only perfect situation. Hope is believing while God works behind the scenes, because that's what he's doing. Whether we believe it or not, he really is. Hope is when you continue, when you're tired, you're worn, and you don't recognize yourself. If this sounds like you can do this. Stay steady and never give up. You don't wait to feel hopeful. You practice hope until you rebuild your heart and your soul. So I was listening to a song here that's an old song, and I was listening to the words. It's a Bill Withers song, Lean On Me, and we all know it. It's a song that's about mutual support, friendship, and unity. It emphasizes that it's okay to rely on others in tough times and that we all need to be there for one another in return. So the song expresses that even though people face pain and sorrow, they don't have to bear it alone. It's about vulnerability, acceptance, and reciprocating help. When the powerful chorus reminds us that, lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend, and I'll help you carry on. You all know the song. So look back over your life for a moment. Every season, every closed door, every unexpected turn, every heartbreak, all the healing, none of it was random. Every stretch of your journey was preparing you for something greater. Even the parts that you didn't understand. I'm going to put that song in the description so you can listen to it if you haven't heard it in a while. Because the enemy tries to bury you in fear, insecurity, and confusion. It tries to convince you that you're too broken, too tired, or too lost. But heaven always saw something in you. The very place that you felt once weak, the very place that you were wounded, that's where God now shines through the most. It shines in you the most. So you've been through pain, you've carried disappointment, you've walked through things that should have crushed you, but they didn't, and you're still here, right? And that means something. You're on the podcast, you're searching. This is a good thing. Maybe your story, your heartbreak, your rebuilding, they weren't meant to stay hidden. Maybe they were meant to help someone else find their way. You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to know what's coming next. God never waited for someone to be perfect before he used them. He doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the call. That's what he does. And all you need is one thing today, the courage to take the next step. That's all you really need to do. That's where it begins. It's not a mood. It's a discipline. It's the decision to stand firm when your emotions are all over the place, and it's a daily choice to lift your eyes when everything wants to just shut down. Most people think hope is supposed to feel warm and sweet. It's like I said, it's born in the dark. It grows in the nights when you can't sleep. In the mornings, your heart's heavy, and it takes root in the seasons when nothing seems to be happening. God's quiet. That's where hope becomes something else. So hope is choosing to believe God is moving even when you cannot track a single thing that he's doing. Hope is telling your mind to align what God has spoken instead of what fear keeps repeating. Hope is returning to the truth again, even when your emotions argue with you. It's not pretending. It's not forcing positivity. It's discipline, and it shapes you. Hope teaches you that to breathe through disappointment without giving in. It teaches you to wait without collapsing. It teaches you to trust God in the middle of the unknown instead of only after the breakthrough arrives. Because hope is the anchor that keeps your soul steady while God works behind the scenes. Hope is the voice inside you that says this chapter is not the end. It's the quiet courage that keeps showing up when everything feels tiring. Maybe hope looks like meeting someone new one day, someone who surprises you, someone God handpicks for you in the next chapter of your life. Even when it feels impossible right now, hope does not ask you to feel it. It just asks you to stay open. So maybe for some of you, the person that you loved, they're not in your life right now. Maybe something broke. Maybe someone drifted. Maybe you aren't sure whether God is going to restore that relationship, or maybe he's going to replace it. You don't know. Hope lets you hold on to possibilities without losing yourself, is what I'm trying to say. So hope doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means trusting that God sees more than you do. And hope means believing that no matter who stays or who leaves, God will never waste your pain or your story. He's always working for you. Maybe you don't want anybody new. Maybe you can't imagine loving someone else. Maybe your heart feels permanently tied to one person. Maybe that's, but healing has a way of surprising us. And you don't need to know who or when or how. You just need to believe that you're not done being loved in this life. No matter if someone betrayed you or left you, or if you're still hanging on to it, or a new person is going to step in. You just got to know that you're not done by being loved in this life. Hope says both paths are possible, moving forward or rebuilding something from the past. Sometimes God separates people for a season so he can rebuild them individually so they can come together the right way later. He does that a lot too. I read so many stories. So you don't have to chase it. You don't have to force it. But when your world collapses, when someone that you love disappears from your life, when your routines crack apart and every day feels like heavier than the one before, hope becomes something that you have to fight for. It isn't pretending everything's fine. It isn't wishful thinking. It's a reality, the thing that keeps you going when everything else has been stripped away. Hope gets complicated when you're hurting, because when your heart's shattered, when the person that you prayed for is suddenly gone, when the future that you pictured gets ripped away, hope feels like a cruel world. It feels like you're waiting for something that may never come. It feels like a reminder of everything that you lost. It feels like another chance to get disappointed. But here's the truth. Hope isn't about getting what you want. It's about trusting that God sees what you can't see. It's not a prediction. It's not a posture. It's choosing to believe that God is still writing even when the page looks blank. So you might not see any movement. You might not see any answers. You might be praying and crying and begging and why this, why now? And he's quiet. But silence is not absence. Silence is not abandonment. It's closed door is not always rejection. Sometimes it's protection. He's protecting you. He takes things away sometimes for your protection. That might have hurt you in the long run. Hope in God's timing means it's believing that he didn't forget you. He didn't replace you. He didn't overlook you. He's preparing something that you can't see yet. And yes, sometimes that something is a restored relationship. Sometimes it's a completely new beginning. Sometimes it's healing inside you that had to happen first. And sometimes people have to heal before they get back together, or even before they go into a new relationship. We've talked about this in other episodes. Hope doesn't choose sides. It doesn't say Either she comes back, or it doesn't say, I'm done. It says, God, whatever your will is, give me the strength to walk through it or walk in it. Because if somebody was meant to be in your story forever, nothing on earth is going to stop that. No timing, no distance, not another person, not a mistake, not fear, not anything. And if God has something else prepared for you down the road, you're going to look back one day and say, now I understand. Now I see why it had to happen this way. Hope in God's timing. It's not passive, it's active, it's strong, it's choosing to trust the author even when the chapter feels in fear. But you're not waiting alone. You're not really rebuilding alone. And you're not walking into the future alone. God is already there. He's preparing the place you're headed before you even take the first step. Hope doesn't mean forcing yourself to move on either. It means staying open to the possibility that life still has more love for you. And maybe that's a new person one day. Someone who sees you and understands you and values you. Hope lets you believe that. You stop trying to guess what someone's doing or thinking or feeling or choosing. You stop trying to control the uncontrollable. God sees the conversations that you don't. He sees the tears that you don't witness. He sees the fears that they never admit. Nothing is hidden from him. You may think you might be in a situation, you say, wow, this person moved on, but they could be hurting worse than you because deep down they know what they really want. But for whatever reason, and this could be many different situations, but you just got to stop rushing healing, yours or theirs. You just stop rushing it and you let God set the pace. It's all by God's pace. If restoration is coming, he's going to bring it. If redirection is coming, he's going to guide it. Either way, he knows what will heal you and not break you any further. There's a kind of hope that rises, and not because life feels good, but because life feels impossible. It's the hope that shows up when you're standing in the wreckage of something that you thought would last forever. The kind of hope that whispers, even now, you're not done. A new beginning doesn't always come with excitement. Sometimes it begins with shaking hands or tear-filled eyes or a heart that's still bruised from the battle. But hope isn't about feeling ready. Hope is about believing that there can be something on the other side of what actually hurt you. A new beginning might look like waking up one morning and realizing that the pain isn't the first thing that you feel. Laughing again, even when it surprises you. Starting a new routine, a new habit, a new chapter, one small choice at a time. Meeting someone who reminds you that connection still exists, even when you're not ready for love. Or simply believing that God isn't finished writing your story. Hope doesn't ask you to forget what happened. It doesn't erase memories or pretend that the heartbreak wasn't real either. Hope just says your story isn't over, not even close. And sometimes a new beginning is not a new relationship or a new person. Sometimes a new beginning is you becoming someone stronger, wiser, softer, clearer, someone who sees life differently than you did before the storm hit. I know I'm a different person from my last heartache. Hope says you're allowed to heal, you're allowed to move forward, you're allowed to build again, even when it feels impossible right now. Even if you take just one small step at a time, even if you're limping forward, that's still a new beginning. Because God is a God of next chapters. He never ends a story on a loss. Okay? For some of you, hope might look like reconciliation. Maybe something broke. Maybe someone walked away. Maybe timing got twisted. And you don't know if God is going to restore what was lost or bring something new into your life. Hope lets you hold both possibilities with an open hand. So restoration is different from replacement. It's different from starting over. Restoration is when God takes something that was shattered and rebuilds it into something stronger than it was before. Now, this doesn't always mean a relationship comes back. Sometimes it does. Sometimes the bond that broke is the very one that God rebuilds into a healthier, deeper, more mature way. We've seen that in marriages, friendships, families, even connections that felt completely dead. But sometimes restoration is personal. He restores your peace, your identity, your confidence, your spirit, your joy, your ability to trust, your sense of direction, your ability to love without fear. So restoration means the parts of you that were crushed begin to breathe again. It means the heartbreak that felt like death becomes an anchor for wisdom and compassion. It means the pieces of your heart that were scattered and gathered, not into the old version of you, but into a stronger one. And yes, restoration can happen in a relationship too. the same relationship, the one that you thought was gone forever. Because people do grow, people wake up, they realize what they lost, they change, they return. Because when God is involved, no door is permanently shut. I always talk about divine intervention. Restoration doesn't always come fast. It doesn't come on our timeline. Sometimes it comes after you've already let go, after you've already healed, after you've already rebuilt yourself. And sometimes that's when the miracle happens. But no matter how it unfolds, restoration always means this: nothing broken stays broken in God's hands. Nothing lost is lost forever. Nothing that was meant for you can be taken from you. And sometimes the most powerful restoration is when God restores your hope itself. Ordinary hope is wishful thinking. It's fragile. It depends on circumstances. It rises and falls based on what we see. Because biblical hope, it's anchored not in circumstances, not in people, not in outcomes, but in God's character. Because I'm going to go to some scripture here. I'm just looking at my notes, and I had a couple of scriptures here. Hebrews 6:19 says, "We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure." So, and the thing about an anchor is it doesn't stop the storm. It holds you steady through the storm. That's what the scripture means. So that's God's timing. He doesn't rush, doesn't panic. He's never late. And he always moves with purpose. So sometimes he delays things because you're not ready, they're not ready. Sometimes because the story needs more chapters before it makes sense. I don't know. And sometimes because what you're asking for would have broken if God gave it to you too soon. So God's timing is never about punishment too. It's about preparation. Hoping God's timing means like trusting when nothing makes sense, believing when the situation looks dead, holding on even when your heart is tired, remembering that God sees the full picture, not just the moment that you're in. And here's the truth: when God restores something, he restores it better, deeper, stronger, and healthier than it ever was before. I was just talking to somebody, this girl, she separated from her husband, and they went their separate ways. And I forget how long she said that they were separated for, but they both got into relationships and that fell apart, and they ended up getting back together. And she said when they got back together, the marriage was just unbelievable. They both appreciated each other. They realized they needed each other, and they're still married. And she said that if it never happened, what happened, they wouldn't have the marriage they had today. I thought it was pretty interesting. Sometimes the restoration happens inside you, sometimes inside the relationship, and sometimes into a brand new chapter that you never expected. But the one thing that's always true is that hope never dies in God's timing. It matures, it deepens, and it becomes something unshakable. That's what I'm trying to say. People love to talk about hope like it's easy too, like it's soft, peaceful, comforting, but hope has a cost. It costs you. It costs you your old life. It forces you to grow, stretch, change. It demands that you become a version of yourself that you never were before. Your comfort zone, it'll push you into uncomfortable places, alone time, healing, honesty, surrender, patience, and your illusions of control. You can't hope and still try to control the story. One has to die so the other one can breathe. Your pride, you have to lose your pride. Hope requires humility. It makes you admit that you're not done, you're not healed, you're not over it yet. And your timelines. Hope takes longer than you think. Always longer. It teaches you to trust God's timing instead of your own. And it's one of the most frustrating things, but it's another thing. Your fear forces you to confront the fears that keep you frozen. Fear of being alone, fear of being forgotten, fear of rejection, fear of starting over. But is it the greatest cost? How about your willingness to be vulnerable again, to love again, trust again, believe again, open your heart again, even if it feels it's being ripped apart right now? Hope costs a lot, but hopelessness costs you everything. Hopelessness steals your future, and hope opens the door to one. Hopelessness keeps you stuck in the past. Hope pulls you into something new. Hopelessness tells you this is all there will ever be. And hope whispers, not yet. Keep going. Hope, like I said, hope isn't cheap. It isn't painless and it isn't easy, but it's worth it because hope is the place where God works. And every breakthrough starts with hope. Every answered prayer starts with hope. Every restored relationship starts with hope. Every new chapter starts with hope. It's not for the weak. Hope is for the warriors. And there's a scripture I was going to put about warriors, but I didn't write that one down. And you're still here, which means that you're stronger than you think. So let me bring you into my world for a minute. I always talk about my personal stories, because everything I said about hope earlier, it's not coming from a man who's got it all figured out. It's coming from a man who's been fighting to breathe. A few days ago, I was in the airport. I went back to Florida, and I was sitting there alone, tight chest, tired, and honestly, not sure I was going to just get through that night. I was just having a tough day, and I saw this girl in front of me she looks just like somebody I knew. And out of nowhere, I'm a grown man. Tears are coming down my face, just falling right down. I wasn't trying to be emotional. I wasn't looking for a moment. It just hit me, and the flood, the grief, and the reality. And I just remember thinking, this is like a low point in my life, and I don't know, I'm going to climb out of this. But then I realized I have to move forward. I spent a few days with a few great people who treated me like I was somebody and I felt wanted, and realized that other people don't deserve who you are or what you become or what you have to offer, and they deserve exactly what they'll eventually get. It's without question. That came into my mind. So anyway, later that night, I was sitting at this tiki bar. I was all alone. The music was playing. People were laughing, and everyone was living in their life while I was just sitting there, quiet. And that's when something struck me unexpectedly. There was a guy next to me struck up this conversation. We got to talking, and somehow topic of podcast came up. And I told him I'm actually a new podcast, and he asked me what the podcast was about. And I told him, honestly, it's about life. It could be healing, faith, heartbreak, and still believing like when everything falls apart, and also blessings, and also being thankful and appreciative. So he said, really? So he said, what's the name of it? So I told him, Cracked Open, showed him the logo, and he went on his phone and became a follower instantly. And it was funny because there's a guy to the left of me. He overheard the conversation. It was a younger guy who's sitting with his wife, and he said, hey, man, I'm going to check that out too. I Cracked Open, right? I said, yeah. So two strangers, two real conversations, two connections out of nowhere. I hope both of them are listening right now. And I hope they both leave a comment, because it was nice talking to both of them. I had some good conversations with them. I didn't plan it. I wasn't trying to impress anybody. I wasn't even in the mood to talk, but something just happened in that moment. Maybe it was those angels I talked about earlier. I don't know. But anyway, hope found me right there in that bar, in my stress and in my emptiness or whatever, in that tough night I was having. But I was all by myself. But sometimes hope doesn't show up dressed in light. Sometimes hope shows up as two strangers who say, hey, I'm going to follow your story. And that little bit of hope, it's like, okay, keep doing these. And then when I boarded the plane, here we go, feeling empty again. I'm by myself, whatever. Not a pity. I'm not looking for a pity party. I'm just saying how I felt. My chest hurt a little bit. My thoughts were all over the place. I was exhausted. I kind of felt alone at that moment, but I've been there before. And I just had a great time with the people while down there. And I was thinking, why am I even doing this podcast? Why am I trying? Who even cares? But then I put on a couple of my own podcasts on the way home. I put on episode 2, was the one on forgiveness, and I put my own on from time to time. And I heard myself from the outside, and I heard a man trying to heal, trying to grow, and trying to do the right thing, and trying to help others while fighting my own demons. And I realized something. Hope wasn't gone. It's been in me the whole time. I just couldn't see it over the noise and the pain. So even listening to myself gave me a small spark, a reminder that my voice matters, and that my story matters, and that what I'm walking through has purpose, and that someone somewhere listening needed to hear this. And even if I didn't feel strong, I was still speaking life, and that meant something. So anyways, when I landed, I got off the plane and I walked through the jetway. I'm thinking, man, I made it. It wasn't easy, but I made it. And that's when hope whispered again. You didn't quit. You didn't collapse. You didn't disappear. You're still here. Hope doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it's just you survived another day, and that's enough. Sometimes that's enough. It's all you need. And let me tell you something straight too, because I know some of you are listening, for this exact reason. Heartbreak and disappointment will make you doubt everything: your worth, your future, your identity, your sanity, your faith. And when you're in it, you're really in it. Hope feels like a cruel joke. I've had nights before where I prayed to God to show up and nothing changed. And I've had many days where I felt abandoned, days where hope felt dead. But that's exactly, why this episode matters so much, because hope doesn't just show up when everything's perfect. It shows up when everything breaks. It's born out of heartbreak. It's shaped through suffering. Hope is strengthened through loss. Hope grows in the rubble. And if you feel like your life is in rubble right now, if you feel cracked open, you're exactly where hope begins, because it's not after the healing, after the closure, or after the reconciliation. It begins when you have nothing left but breath. And if you're breathing, still hope in you, man. Just hang in there. So now that I brought you into my story, let's go a little deeper. This is where everything kind of shifts. Hope, such a small word, but holds up our entire lives. It's something that we cling to when everything feels out of control. It's a blanket that we pull over our fears so we can pretend that they aren't there. It's something that we use to give ourselves false faith. Sometimes it feels that. Sometimes hope feels fragile, like a whisper in the storm, like a candle flickering in the window, like something too weak to hold on to. And sometimes the darkness convinces us that hope is like we're being naive, that it's unnecessary, that it's foolish to believe anything good could come out of what you're facing right now. But that's all a lie, because evil does not enter when hope is present. Evil takes ground when good people doubt, when we stop believing God meant what he said, when the voice of fear becomes louder than the voice of truth, when we run the other way instead of standing our ground in the strength that God that put inside us. The enemy wants you to think that your hope is the pretend thing, because a hopeless believer is a quiet believer. A hopeless believer doesn't pray bold prayers, doesn't lift their head, doesn't stand in the authority of the one who lives inside them. A hopeless believer collapses and when God is still holding him up. But hope is not false faith. Hope is not a delusion. Hope is not weakness. It's faith's breath. Hope is the light that keeps burning, even when your eyes can't see a single thing, that God's doing. Hope is the steady hand that lifts your chin and says, look again, your story isn't over. Scripture says, hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our hearts. Do you know what that means? It means that real hope is anchored, not imagined. It's held by someone stronger than your fear, more faithful than your doubts, more constant than, your circumstances. And hope is not built on your strength, it's built on God's strength. So when darkness presses on, don't run. Do not hand over ground that God has already given you to stand on. Plant your feet, lift your eyes, speak truth, even if your lips are trembling, because hope is not passive, hope is not weak, and it's not quiet. Hope is a weapon. It's a resistance. It's a bold declaration, that God is good and he's here right now, even in the chaos, even in your pain, and even when everything feels upside down. He pushes back against fear. He pushes back against the lies, against the weight on your chest, against the voice that says you're done, because you're not done, okay? And hope says the storm will not drown you. The season will not break you. This loss is not the end of your story. Hope is the ground you stand on when your knees are shaking, when hope is the light that refuses to go out, even when, the night feels endless. And it's the memory of God's faithfulness pulling you forward when you can't take another step. And if hope feels small in you right now, if it feels faint, if it feels buried under grief or fear or confusion, let me tell you something. A small hope is still hope. A weak hope is still hope. A trembling hope is still hope. A quiet hope is still hope. And hope, even the smallest spark, it's just enough to start rebuilding your life. It's all you need. So now that we've named what hope kind of really is, let's talk about how to practice it, how to hold it, how to walk with it. When your heart's tired, that's what we're going to go next here. Hope isn't just an idea. It isn't something that you wait around that magically is going to show up. It's something that you do, especially when you don't feel a drop of it. I want to give you the real steps, the ones that I've had to do myself in the middle of my pain and my confusion and things I've been through in some of the hardest days of my life. And these aren't theories. They're not little cute sayings. They're just moves that keep you breathing. So sometimes the very first step it's not profound. It's not spiritual. It isn't strong. It's just simple. Take a damn breath, because one breath is hope. One pause is hope. Maybe one moment of saying, I'm not giving up right now. That's hope. You don't need a miracle to start. You just need a breath. You can't build hope on lies. And you can't build hope while pretending everything is okay. Real hope starts when, you let your heart speak honestly. And you say, you're hurting, you're disappointed, you're angry, and scared, confused, abandoned, lost. That's honesty. Honesty doesn't destroy hope. It activates hope, because God heals, what you're willing to reveal. So that's why you got to witness it. And you don't have to be strong right now. You just have to be real. So some of the most powerful prayers that I've ever prayed were only sometimes 2 or 3 words. God, help me. God, be here. God, please, I need you. Like things like this. You don't need perfect words. You don't need a long speech. You don't need to feel spiritual. Prayer is not about performance. It's about connecting, and connection grows hope. Even if it's a whisper, even if it's through tears, even if all you can do is just sit in silence. Move your body, get up, walk, stand, go outside, change your surroundings. Because movement, it clears the fog in your head. It opens the door to hope. It reminds you that you're still alive. And that's what I do. I go for walks and I go for runs all the time. And I got back from Florida. I went for a run. I was like, ooh, it was cold. So speak hope. Even when your voice shakes, just do it. Maybe listen to a sermon. Play worship music. Just read one verse. Sit in silence with God. Listen to your spirit instead of your fear. It's a good thing to do. Hope grows when you realize that you're not floating alone in the universe. You're not forgotten. You're not abandoned. You're not drifting. These last few days, I've seen it myself. Strangers in bars, people on planes, people who said, just hang in there. Or even this podcast or a podcast I'm listening to. The right words at the right moment can just pull you back into hope. And God often uses people to reach us when we're too broken to reach out ourselves. Those are those spiritual angels, I call them, but don't shut people out. Sometimes hope walks into your life wearing someone else's voice. So take the next small step. Hope dies when you try to think too far ahead. It disappears when you worry about the whole mountain. You ask yourself, what is the next small step I can take today? Not the next month, not the next year, not the big picture. Just the next small step. Because hope grows in small steps, little steps, tiny moves forward, one decision at a time, one breath at a time, one day at a time. And that's how you build it. And just remember, your story's not done. You might feel cracked open right now, but you're not finished. You might feel like everything fell apart, but you're still standing. You might feel you lost everything, but God's still building something in you. It doesn't mean that the pain is gone, or the past is erased, or that you're healed, but it does mean that you're not done, and everything is still possible, and God is still working. Hope means that the story is still being written, and if you're still breathing, hope is still alive in you. I just want to talk to you as someone who knows what it feels like to be hurt and to still want something to believe in. So wherever you are right now, maybe you're sitting, you're driving, you're walking, maybe you're laying in your bed, just acknowledge who you really are. I want you to be honest with yourself. Maybe for the first time today, ask yourself, where does it hurt right now? What am I carrying that's too heavy? What part of me feels lonely? And what am I afraid to say out loud? You don't have to fix anything in this moment. You just name it. Because hope starts with honesty. Say it quietly in your mind or out loud if you're alone. Name that place that hurts. You're not crazy for feeling this way. You're not weak for hurting. You're not broken beyond repair. You're not crazy for missing someone. You're not dramatic. You're not overreacting. You're human and you have a big heart. And your heart has been through a lot. So there is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing embarrassing about your pain. Nothing shameful about your tears. Nothing foolish about your hope. You're not alone in this. Before I let you go, I need you to hear this. I need you to take this with you into tomorrow. You're not behind in life. Not broken beyond healing. Not forgotten by God. Not lost. Not done. You're in a chapter, not the whole book. Not the ending, just the chapter. And chapters change. Okay? You may feel cracked open right now. But cracked open is not the same thing as being destroyed. And listen to me closely. What breaks you today can build you tomorrow. What hurts you now can grow into something stronger, wiser, deeper, more compassionate, more powerful than you ever imagined. God does his best work in broken places. It's all through the Bible. He speaks the loudest in the quiet. He builds strength in the dark. He restores, what feels lost. He heals what feels impossible. Yes, now, here, in this season. And I want you to remember something. You survived the day, and maybe this is a day you're surviving that you thought would kill you. Maybe, I don't know where you're at right now. Maybe you survived a night that you thought it was too heavy to carry. Maybe you survived a heartbreak that felt unbearable. Maybe you survived pain you didn't see coming. Maybe you're surviving the loss of a loved one. But you're still here. You're still breathing, fighting, hoping, even when hope feels faint. So, you know what that means? It means that you're stronger than you think, that there's a purpose in your pain, that God isn't finished with you yet, and your story is still unfolding. It means your heart will not stay in pieces forever. Your joy will not stay stolen. Your strength will return. Your peace will find you again. Okay? And when that day comes, when you look back on this season, you're going to say, I didn't quit. I didn't collapse. I didn't give up on myself. And God never let go of me. So hold on to that hope. Even if it's small, and even if it shakes, even if it flickers, it's enough. You're enough. And your story is not done. This is still believing. Okay? So before we close today, I want to give you a few scriptures that helped me hold on to hope, especially on the days when I felt empty, confused, and worn down. And I'm not going to break them all down or preach them to you or nothing like that. It's not a religious podcast, but people do like the scriptures. I've got a lot of texts and stuff about them, so I throw them in there. Just let them sit with you and maybe let them lift you. So if we want to write these down, go ahead. It's Romans 5:5. Hope does not put us to shame. Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the evidence of things hoped for, the assurance of things not seen. Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. Isaiah 40:31. Those who hope in the Lord will receive their strength. Jeremiah 29:11. Plans for hope and a future. Romans 15:13. May the God of hope still fill you with peace. So hold these, carry them, come back to them when you need to breathe again. Read the whole scriptures. And before we move into this prayer, I've been ending these with prayer. I want to give you another song that captures the heart of everything that we just talked about today. A reminder that better days are still ahead. It's called Better Days by the Goo Goo Dolls. It's a song of hope, resilience, and having faith in oneself, particularly for those who have faced hardship or trauma. It's about believing in yourself, finding love, the need for hope, and the song reflects the idea of starting fresh and wiping the slate clean. Hope is not something that you wait to feel. Hope is something that you choose, even when everything in you feels broken. And hope says, I don't know how this will work out, but I believe God is still writing my story. Hope says, this pain is real, but it isn't the end of my story. It also says, I may have lost something precious, but I have not lost myself, and I have not lost God. You don't need to know the whole path to take your next step. You don't need a guarantee to keep living your life. You don't need answers to trust that God is already in your tomorrow. Hope is the quiet courage to open your eyes, take a breath, and say, Lord, help me believe again. Some days hope is feeling strong. Some days it will feel thin and fragile. But as long as you have even a flicker left, God can work with that. He has built entire lives from less. And remember, hope is not tied to one person. It's not tied to one outcome. It's rooted in God, and because of that, it cannot die. So whatever the future holds, you will not face it alone. You will not face it empty, and you will not face it without purpose. Hope is still here, and so are you. And we all carry a story. Not one of us got here without some scars. We have all made mistakes that we wish we could undo. We've all faced moments that have broken us wide open. And we've all lived chapters that we never wanted to read out loud. But the difference is never who's made mistakes. The difference is who's willing to go through them, and who's willing to tell the truth, and who's willing to evolve instead of pretend. Because the truth is, we're all unfinished. We're all learning, and we're all trying to become better than the person we were yesterday. So if you're listening right now, it feels heavy or confusing or lonely, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not defined by your past. You're not alone in your pain, and you're not done yet. If you could love the wrong person that deeply, just imagine how fiercely you could love the right person. There's hope to your future, for your healing, for your heart, and I hope that God's still writing chapters that you can't see yet. So hold on to that, because hope, real hope, is the beginning of every new beginning. Okay, so let me give you something to hold on right now. In my story, 6 months ago, I had a plan. I thought I knew my direction. I thought I knew who would be sitting with me and through this life story. But life has a way of rearranging everything, sometimes in ways that can feel cruel, confusing, and unfair. But today, I'm doing something that I never thought I'd have to do again. I'm starting over. And not because I wanted to, but because life has forced me to. And here's what I'm learning. Sometimes God removes what you thought was permanent so he can give you what's actually meant for your soul. And hope isn't loud. It isn't obvious. It's the quiet whisper that says, keep going. Something is coming that you can't see yet. And I'm choosing to believe that whisper today. So you may be saying, how did I end up here? Or in the position you're in? Because you trusted deeply, or you loved fully. You gave your whole heart to somebody maybe. That doesn't make you stupid. It just makes you rare. People like you, men or women like you, we're becoming extinct. And yes, it's unfair. And it hurts beyond anything you can explain. But people's choices don't define your value. And their confusion doesn't erase your worth. And their replacement doesn't replace you. Not in reality. Okay? Not in God's eyes. And not even in their heart. Whether they admit it or not. But on the other side of this journey, you may meet someone new. You may find a piece of peace. You may laugh for the first time in months. You may remember that life is bigger than that one painful heartache. Or maybe you won't. Maybe you'll just stay quiet. I don't know. But even quiet healing is still healing. Let's close with a prayer. I hope you're in a good place and heading into a better place. So these are prayers that I write down, and then I've been reading them at the end of my last few podcasts. People seem to like these as well. So just pray with me, okay? And I hope this hits your heart. So Father, thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for meeting us right where we are, in the middle of our hurt, in the middle of our confusion, in the middle of our losses, in the middle of questions that we don't have answers to. And for every person listening who feels broken, who feels alone, who feels forgotten or overwhelmed, I ask that you breathe strength into them right now. Not tomorrow, not next month, and not when everything gets better, but right now. Remind them that the pain that they carry or they're carrying is not the end of their story, and remind them that you're still writing their story. You're still working, you're still healing, you're still restoring what feels impossible. Give them the courage to take the next small step. Give them the clarity to see your hand in the middle of the fog, and give them the peace that only you can give. The peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. For the losses that we've been carrying, the people that we've had to say goodbye to, the relationships that broke our hearts, the parts of ourselves we're trying to rebuild, God, we place all of them in your hands. We don't pretend to understand it, but we do trust that you will bring purpose out of it. We trust that no tear is wasted, no hurt is ignored, and no prayer goes unheard. Thank you for getting us through this moment, for reminding us that even when life feels heavy, you are heavier than the weight we carry. Give us strength for the next step, clarity for the next decision, courage for the next challenge. Lift our heads, steady our hearts, reset our focus. Let hope rise in us, not as an idea, but as power, as fuel, as something we live by. Help us to let go of what we can't control and to grab hold of what we can. Our attitudes, our mindset, our reactions, our discipline, and our faith. Make us men and women who stand firm, not because life is easy, but because you make us steady. And God, thank you for being here with us right now. Give us strength for the next step, peace for the next breath, clarity for the next road ahead, and remind us that hope isn't a feeling. It's something that we walk in, we stand on, and that we choose every single day. Keep us steady, keep us focused, and keep us moving forward. Fill us with peace tonight, with strength tomorrow. Fill us with quiet confidence that we are not walking this road alone. Thank you for hope. Thank you for purpose and for carrying us forward. Strengthening the ones who are listening tonight or today. Hold them when they can't hold themselves. Remind them that hope is still alive, even if it's quiet, if it's trembling, if it feels small. And remind them that if they are still breathing, then you are not done and their story is not over, and that there's still more ahead than behind. We thank you for hope. We thank you for your presence, and we thank you for carrying us through another day. And tonight or today we come before you with a tired heart, a heart that has fought, loved, lost, and still trying to believe that better days exist beyond the pain. So God, you see the confusion, you see the questions, you see the loneliness that hits without warning, you see the memories that hurt and the future that feels uncertain. And yet, you are the God of hope, not a hope that depends on people, not a hope that is fragile or temporary, but a hope that is anchored in your presence. So tonight I ask you, lift the heaviness, calm the fear, quiet the spiraling thoughts, hold the parts of us that still feel broken, and strengthen the parts that are still trying to stand. Remind us that what is meant for us cannot be taken from us. And remind us that you restore, you rebuild, you redeem, and nothing is ever too far gone in your hands. Give us the courage to believe in new beginnings, whether that means a new chapter, a restored relationship, or a future that we haven't imagined yet. Fill our hearts with peace, clarity, and strength. Help us walk tomorrow, not with fear, but with hope. In Jesus' name, amen. So this is still believing, and no matter what you're facing, hope is still alive in you. And I'll talk to you in the next episode. I'm going to still get another coordinated date with Eric Karen, my first podcast guest that's going to be in the studio. And I'm going to get Pastor Brian in here, and his sermon that I just listened to on suffering was unbelievable. He's been on fire lately. He's a great speaker, but his last few sermons have hit me. Maybe it's because of where I'm at from all the losses, and now I lost my aunt. It's just one thing after the next in this year. But I think I'm going to do, I usually don't talk too much about what I'm doing because I seem to change weekly, but I think I'm going to do the next one on suffering, and then the one after that, thankfulness. Thank you for listening to Cracked Open on Hope. If this episode reached you, or if it helped you or it made you feel more hopeful, I'm grateful. This podcast is not about being perfect, it's about being honest. And if you're thirsty right now, hang in there, because what you deserve will come to you in due time, my friend. I appreciate you being here with me. Take care of your heart, take care of your peace, and keep going forward. Stay true, stay hopeful, stay kind, and keep walking that forward path as life cracks you open. And remember, your integrity is your legacy. Treat others as you want to be treated. Treat your neighbor as yourself, because karma has no favorites. So this has been Cracked Open with Glen Nunes. Please share it with somebody who might need to hear it today, or share it in general. Please like and please subscribe to the podcast. I appreciate you all. And until next time, take care of your heart, your peace, and your purpose. I love you, and you have a great week. This has been Glen Nunes with Cracked Open.
Thank you for listening to Cracked Open. If today's episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who might need a little light in their own dark season. Remember, even in brokenness, there's beauty waiting to be found. Every crack is a place where the light can shine through. Until next time, stay true, stay hopeful, and keep your heart open.